gente. My name is Maria López Twena, and I'm the author of the children's book and video series, MariVi, the Master Navigator, and the creator of this new podcast, Navigating Dos Mares, or Navigating Two Seas. MariVi, the Master Navigator book and video series was created to help children as they navigate life growing up with two cultures and two languages. This podcast, Navigating Dos Mares, was created to help us older kids, or the adult children of immigrants, better understand our childhood experiences and the impact that they've had on our lives. The book All Aboard, which is also available in Spanish, focuses on MariVi's third grade experiences. MariVi is now back at school, and a new student arrives. Quote, on a Friday morning, right before school started, a new girl walked into our classroom with her parents. My desk was very close to Mrs. Hebert's, her teacher, so I could see them when they walked in. I had gotten to school early that day and was studying words for the spelling test Mrs. Hebert gave us every Friday. The girl was different than anyone I had seen in school before. Her skin was a pretty color. It was a lot like mine, but had more of a yellow color, and she had long, very thick hair all the way down her back and freckles on her face. I think her hair was even thicker than mine. It was brushed into a beautiful braid, and I wondered if her mom used hairspray when she brushed her hair that morning. She also wore pink glasses, which were small and round. Her parents were very tall. Her father had light brown hair and wore black glasses. Her mother was very dark and tall too. She had big eyes, beautiful white teeth, and wore a dark skirt with a light sweater. Her hair was cut straight all the way around her head from ear to ear and was much curlier than mine. And she wore pretty earrings and lots of bracelets on her left arm. Mrs. Hebert presented Miriam to the class along with her parents, Adela and Rob. She said Miriam would be joining us next year in school, but was in town this week, so her family had decided to visit our school. Miriam's last name was Cohen. I tried to figure out how to spell it, and then Mrs. Hebert wrote it on the chalkboard, C-O-H-E-N, a lot like it sounded, but I would have guessed C-O-H-I-N. Mrs. Hebert then said, class, this is going to be our new student I told you about, Miriam Cohen, and these are her parents. I'd like you all to make her feel welcome. Miriam is going to spend a little time in class with us today while her parents meet the principal. All the students clapped loudly. I looked at Karen and Debbie and Joseph and Steve as they were watching Miriam, and I felt like I did my first day of school. I secretly hoped Miriam wasn't feeling like she didn't belong in school like I had in first grade. She kept looking at the floor and not at us. And her parents were right next to her. She must be shy, I thought, just like me. And then Mrs. Hebert looked at me and said, MariVi, I think you will see that you and Miriam have a lot in common. I didn't know what she was saying. Was she saying that I looked like Miriam because we were darker than the other kids? I just know that I felt pain in my tummy and felt like I was going to cry because now all my friends and classmates were staring at me, not Miriam, end quote. So much to unpack here. There's a new student who has joined the classroom. MariVi is starting to feel sorry for her and hoping that she isn't feeling like MariVi did when she started school. Empathy, which is prevalent in many children of immigrants, is emerging for MariVi. All the students are looking at Miriam because she's of interest. She's different. She has an interesting color of skin, darker than MariVi's, but lighter too. And her mother's skin is even darker. But her dad isn't dark. She's an anomaly. To make matters worse, Mrs. Hebert calls out MariVi to let her know that she and Miriam have a lot in common. MariVi is reminded in this instance that she isn't like the other students. something she tries hard to forget every day while she's in school. She just wants to blend in unnoticed. But unbeknownst to her teacher, Mrs. Aber is causing anxiety and a return of the old feeling like she doesn't belong. And this has probably happened to all of us, just when we feel that we are just like everyone else, not remembering that we are different than others. A situation like this arises to remind us that indeed we are different, forcing us to stand out, forcing us to be noticed, and reminding us that, yes, we are forever outsiders. Now, we'll continue with the story. Quote, "Then just when I was going to lower my head to act like I was studying, Maria's mom, Adela, took a couple of steps closer to my desk, lowered herself so that her face was looking right at mine, and said, 'Buenos dias, MariVi.' Good morning, MariVi." I didn't know what to say. I felt so bad that I just wanted to disappear. I didn't want anyone to know that I spoke Spanish and hadn't told anyone that we were Spanish. The kids found out in first grade when I had my accident because Mama came in speaking in Spanish, but I had hoped that no one remembered. I never spoke Spanish at school and didn't want to speak Spanish again. I didn't want to be different. But I had to say something to Miriam's mom. It wouldn't be nice not to. And if Mama found out that I didn't say anything, I would get in trouble. So I raised my head and looked at her and whispered, "Buenos dias, señora." Good morning, ma'am. As I said it, I realized that her Spanish sounded a little different than mine. I didn't know why, but it did. It sounded almost like a song. Then I quickly looked at Miriam, who had kept her head down but had raised her eyes to see if I would say something to her mom. She nodded at me a little as if to say that she understood and gave me a small smile. She had a pretty smile and was missing 2 teeth, just like me. End quote. Well, a couple of interesting things just happened. The reason MariVi's teacher thinks MariVi and Miriam have a lot in common is not because they are dark. It's because they are both Latinas. MariVi doesn't know what to do with this new information, not sure if it's better or worse than just being dark. She is mortified that she is now being forced to voice and articulate that which also makes her different from her peers, her Spanish language. As part of collectivist society, though, she has no option but to speak to Miriam's mother, Adela, in Spanish, facing her deep fear of actually voicing her difference and having it heard aloud again in her class, something she's kept pretty much a secret since her incident a couple of years ago in first grade. What will this do to her? How will her classmates react? Will she be shunned again and reminded that she isn't like everyone else? It's very interesting how instances like this can bring us back to a sense of insecurity, regardless of how secure we are finally feeling. So back to our story. Quote, Miriam's parents then quickly left the classroom after kissing her goodbye, and Mrs. Aber sat Miriam right next to me. I gave her a small wave and she waved back. Then I started biting my lip. I always did that when I felt strange, and my left leg started shaking. I don't know why I was feeling like this. Miriam's parents had already left the classroom. I think I just started feeling like I wasn't supposed to be there, and now I had to be nice to Miriam because her mom spoke Spanish. I wondered if Miriam spoke Spanish too, and if she spoke Spanish to both her mom and dad. I didn't hear her father speak Spanish at all. He had told me good morning, not buenos dias. I wondered if he knew how to speak it. I had so much I wanted to ask her, but class had started and I wouldn't be able to speak with her until lunchtime. I looked at Miriam from the side of my eye. She was pretty and very different, I noticed that she wore a necklace too, but it didn't have a cross on it. It looked like it had a hand on it. I wasn't sure if that's what it was or if my eyes were playing tricks on me, but that's exactly what it looked like. Mrs. Abair then came up to me and quietly asked me to be Miriam's buddy. I first thought to myself, that's not fair. I didn't have a buddy when I started school. But then I remembered that in first grade, nobody did, because we were all new to the school. I said, yes, ma'am, Mrs. Abair. I wasn't sure what a buddy was supposed to do, so I quietly asked Mrs. Abair. She told me a buddy is someone that new students can talk to and one that can help them around the classroom, explain the schedule to them, etc. She thought I would be great because Miriam could speak Spanish and English, just like me. That's when I really started biting my lip. I didn't want to help Miriam in Spanish. That's not what I wanted to do. But my teacher said I had to, so now I needed to be Miriam's buddy whether I wanted to or not. The bell for school to begin had already rung, but we were all still getting ready for class to start. I could reach out to Miriam easily as she was sitting on my left, so I leaned over and said in English, Miriam, if you need anything, let me know. I can help you. She looked at me and said, thank you, MariVi, with a very soft voice, barely a whisper. I wanted Miriam to know that I preferred to speak English. That's why I spoke to her in English, end quote. Now, MariVi's a little surprised at this turn of events. She's now reviewing Miriam and scrutinizing both her appearance and her every move. She notices that Miriam has a necklace with a hand on it. She doesn't know what it is or what it means. She's now forced to be Miriam's buddy, something she didn't choose and that she senses is going to put her in an awkward position with her friends. She's worked very hard to assimilate into her classroom, and now she's being asked to take a couple of steps back and identify with her Latino culture, something she's not prepared to do. So once the bell rings and she needs to acknowledge Miriam, she does so in English. Why in English? She wants Miriam to know that she is, or feels, very American. None of this Latino stuff in school. She's assimilated at school. She has American friends. While she may be Latina in the U.S., she is American when she's with anyone that's Latino. This is a reality that many of us face, and we face it throughout our lives. When we are with our Latino family, we are perceived as being too American, and vice versa. When we are with our American friends, we are viewed as somewhat different to Latino. MariVi is experiencing this for the very first time and putting a stake in the ground when it comes to starting a relationship with Miriam. It will be an American relationship, and it will be in English. Today's podcast was filled with experiences some of us may have shared, a new student or situation that reminds us that no matter how far we think we've come when it comes to assimilating, we are still outsiders and forced to face our reality repeatedly where and when we least expect to. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Think about the events we shared in your own life. Did you experience any of them or similar ones? And then ask yourself, what would you tell your 10-year-old self? And remember, life only gets better. You will find a sense of belonging and community, but your life path may return you to your roots to find it. Thanks for listening, and please join us on our next episode of Navigating Dos Mares. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at We Are MariVi, or check out our books on our website, wearemarivi.com.